I've been working in recruitment now for about 7 to 8 months, and one of the biggest and most frequent issues that I see when dealing with candidates, whether it is a junior or whether it is someone genuinely like 10, 20, 25 years into their career, the biggest problem that I see is just people that don't know what they want to do with their careers. So I just thought in this video, I would basically not necessarily give you guys a framework and, different techniques to work out, what's the right job for you. I thought I would literally just talk about my own story and how I ended up in recruitment and how I'm very happy to be in this industry, basically. Knock on wood. But yeah, here's a little bit of a breakdown basically as to how I figured out what I wanted to do. So first things first, I appreciated my skills. So things about me that I really enjoy doing and things that people have told me that I'm very good at doing. I'm very good at talking. I can win arguments that I'm passionate about, and I've got good social skills. So, maybe not in every environment ever, but I really do appreciate that. I enjoy talking. I enjoy getting my point across. I love the art of convincing people, and I love the art of working with people. I think that's something that I've always enjoyed doing, whether that was at school and just, having a good social group, having friends, whether it was, in university doing group work, whether it was, my first job working at a swim school and going from being an instructor to a coach to a manager, doing all of that. My favorite part was always working with people and helping them, but not even about helping them, but just being able to communicate a point, being able to talk to people, being able to deliver information in a way that interested me, and building relationships. That was always something that I enjoyed doing. So that was the first thing, was that I appreciated my skill set, and I really tried to basically find somewhere that, where that can be of value, basically. So first things first, what I always tell people is appreciate your skills, because at the end of the day, what you're good at is what you'll bring to an environment. And as my first boss in my first full-time job always used to say to me, there is a home for everybody. Okay, so there is a niche position, there is a niche opportunity, there is the right opportunity for everybody out there. So genuinely think about your skill set, think about what you're good at, think about what you enjoy doing, and think about what gets the best out of you, you know? And what I did with this is that I aligned my skills with my interests and kind of thought about a dream job. Now, this is always something that I think people do. People always have like a dream job in their mind. People always have like, oh yeah, if I was 40, 50 years old, I'd love to be working this job. But the problem is they don't really know how to get there. So what I kind of did was that I had a dream job, but I aligned it back to something that was a lot more practical, basically, which is my next point, and I will detail that a little bit more. But how I kind of worked out my interests versus my dream job was basically, if we go back here, I appreciated my skills. So I had a real appreciation for talking. I thought communication was always my strong point. So I wanted to utilize this. I wanted to utilize the idea of communication and working with people. Now, in this slide, obviously, my interests. Now, at the time, I would say probably from about maybe 15, 16 years old, I always had an interest in working in the sports industry. Now, initially, that was as a journalist. This is when I was like 14, 15. But then as I got a little bit older and I started to follow football a lot more technically, I guess, like I wasn't just a football fan, like I was, obsessing over the transfers and everything like that. I realized that I had a big interest in how transfers were played out, I had a big interest in how transfers were played out. I had a big interest in how negotiations were going down. I was always finding myself, wasn't really watching the videos about football players or, post-game, pre-game interviews and pre-game chat and everything like that. I was more so focused on videos talking about, with like Fabrizio Romano talking about this transfer and how it's going to happen and who's speaking to who and what the sell is and what the player needs to be convinced to go and all that sort of stuff. So I had a big interest in that part of football. I was looking at football from a lot more of a business perspective, which is weird, but still, I had a big interest in that. And that's when I realized that essentially my dream job at the time, and this kind of stayed through for a good couple of years, was to basically be like a director of football for a professional football club where you are responsible for, the in-house talent acquisition. You're responsible for building up the club and, essentially being the man that is responsible for everything and how the club develops from a business perspective. So I thought that was really, really interesting. That was something that interested me. It was aligned to my interests, so obviously sports and sports management and appreciating my skills. And I kind of worked out like, okay, this would be my dream job. I want to be a director of football at a football club. So cool. I want to be the guy that gets the transfers done. I want to be that guy on deadline day, that, Sky Sports film, and he's walking into the building trying to make the big deal happen. I wanted to be that guy. I wanted to be the guy that helps the coach build his dream team, basically. That was what interested me. That was what excited me. So I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. All right. And this goes into my last point. Now, it goes into my last point because I always hear people talking about follow your passions, follow your passions, follow your passions. And I believe Alex Hormozi said it best. He said, yes, follow your passions, but are your passions hiring? And I think that is a very, very smart quote because it's very true. Like, obviously, I'm at this point, 15, 16, like, I can't just join a football club and be a director of football. And to be honest, I was about maybe 18 to about 20. My career alignment kind of shifted a little bit. I wanted to get into more of a psychology background, but again, specializing in the sports industry. Regardless, though, once I knew for 1 or 2 years after that, that I wanted to actually, like always have that as like my dream end goal was to be a director of football. Once I finished university, I just kind of thought about it practically and I was like, okay, how can I be a director of football? What is the core director of football skill set? Now, obviously, there's business management, there's management in general. A lot of those type of roles, I didn't really find that there was much you could get into in an entry level capacity for this moment of time. Now, don't get me wrong, I probably didn't look that much either. This is because I had something else that I wanted to get into anyways, and that was recruitment. So I thought about it. I thought about it logically, and I had this thought for a couple of years while I was in university. And then once I'd finished, I was like, okay, this is what I want to do. All right. It's not necessarily about, I'm doing these recruitment jobs because eventually I want to get into being a director of football. Like, obviously, director of football would be a dream role. But again, it's not so much about getting to that dream role. It's about unlocking what you enjoy about that dream role and how you could practically take those things and apply them for a new full-time job, if that makes sense. So that's what I did. I was basically at that point, I had finished university now. I knew that I wanted to be a director of football, but I thought, okay, what is the one core thing that director of football does? They recruit. They recruit. So I thought, okay, why don't I get into recruitment? It's the same principle, just in a different industry. And one thing about recruitment is they're very, very big on taking in, grads, giving juniors new opportunities. Not grads. Recruitment is very similar to sales. It's just obviously your product is a job or a person to the business. And I thought, okay, if these skill sets are, if these jobs align with my skill sets of communication and my passion for talking and a bit of a passion for selling as well, this is what's going to get the best out of me in the short term. Also, because my dream job is to be a director of football and recruit, professional athletes, I'm taking that same principle just in a different setting. So it's a lot more interesting to me. And I promise you guys, once I had my first day at my job and my first full-time job working as a recruitment associate or a recruitment admin, can't remember the exact title, but I was working in recruitment in a very junior capacity. I knew from the very, very first day that I loved the job. Now, again, touch wood on that. I don't want to jinx anything. But yeah, that was when I knew I'd love the job because honestly, everything felt like you're doing the same things a director of football would do. You're kind of creating your shortlist, you're identifying your transfer targets, you're having those negotiations, you're talking to the businesses, you're trying to agree the fees, all those different things. Like, it felt like I was already in a director of football capacity, which obviously I wasn't, but taking those same principles and applying them to what I was doing, I thought was pretty cool, and that's how I enjoyed it. That's why I enjoy the work I do so much, because I had this dream and goal, passion. I took the principle from it and applied it to something practical, and I found out what was hiring. So But these were some things that helped me basically find my first job and helped me get into the industry that I'm in and why I enjoy the work I do so much. So look, I hope you guys got some value from this video. If you guys enjoyed it and you guys want to work with me on a one-to-one level, click the link below for a free consultation. We can have a chat and work from there. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video. Thank you.